With bills to pay and debt piling up, it's easy to feel overwhelmed. Personal loans through NetCredit can provide funding up to $10,000 to help you get back on track financially if eligible. Our secure application process allows you to customize the terms that work for you and your budget. So check your eligibility today without affecting your credit score and help get your finances back on track. NetCredit, a more personal loan. All NetCredit loans and lines of credit are offered by a member of the NetCredit family of companies or one of our lending partners. Visit netcredit.com/partners for more information.
Drivers who switch and save with Progressive save over $700 on average, and those savings add up. Imagine what you could buy in the future.
So I used the savings from switching to Progressive 30 years ago to buy tickets to the championship game. You know, between those two teams that didn't exist 30 years ago. Yeah, I'm a big Alaska Palm Trees fan. Which is a team now, in the future.
So switch to Progressive and save big, because those savings can add up in the future. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. National annual average insurance savings by new customers surveyed who saved with Progressive in 2020. Potential savings will vary.
Hey, welcome everyone to the From the Shadows podcast. I'm your host, Shane Grove, and still missing is the super producer, Jason, but he's still on the mend. I know you guys are probably getting sick of me telling you he's still on the mend, but he definitely is. He's feeling better every week, and he will be back soon. He's chomping at the bit to do something, so never fear. And he says, hey, because every day I get a message, a text, some kind of email asking how he's doing, and yes, he's getting better. So he's just keep praying for him. He says that's really working, and he appreciates all the concern. So he's going to get back as soon as he can. And until then, I'll give a shout out to Phil. He's kind of filling in and doing some producing of the show, making it sound a little bit professional. So me and the Howler appreciate that for sure. So I want to remind everybody, though, that if you do have a story and you want to share it, feel free to get a hold of me on our Facebook pages, the From the Shadows podcast Facebook page or the After the Shadows forum page. You can get a hold of us at fromtheshadows podcast.com on the contact page, email us, or you can find me on Instagram at Shane Grove Author and send me a message, or the From the Shadows podcast Instagram page. And that is how today's guest got a hold of me. And it's one of the, I want to almost say this was kind of meant to be, because normally in the middle of the night, I don't check my phone, but I happened to roll over just to check the time, and I saw this message from this gentleman, and it was so intriguing that I got up out of bed in the middle of the night to just kind of make sure that I was not going to miss what he had to say. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce Daniel. Welcome to the show, Daniel.
Hello. Hi.
So Daniel, we've been working hard to make this happen, so let's just what happened to you that made you reach out to the podcast and just kind of ask if I think it was, hey, do you guys take eyewitness reports? I think that was sort of what you asked. So what spurred you on to do that?
So even though this happened like a year and a half ago, probably maybe a little more than that, sometimes I'll just kind of think about it. I'll think, man, I really kind of want to see if there's anybody who's like into this kind of stuff who might like know something. Personally, I'm into all the weird stuff. Like I watched X-Files, science fiction, all that kind of stuff. Bigfoot, Monster Quest, all that. Yeah, just totally.
Of course, what every real American should be into, right? That's what we all should be. The world would be a better place if that's all we cared about.
I kind of watched a lot of Lost Tapes when I was a kid, and that's why I don't sleep anymore. But so basically, just to get into what happened was, yeah, a year and a half ago, I live in a pretty heavily wooded area. There's like a bunch of major subdivisions here and there, but there are some pretty big wooded areas, and I never heard of anything like this happening in the area before. I mean, there's never really been any like Bigfoot sightings or anything crazy. And I don't think this was Bigfoot though. This was definitely something like out of Stranger Things, if I'm being honest. That's the only way I know how to describe it. But, a year and a half ago, I was doing what I've always done at night, probably kind of close to midnight, I think it was, maybe a little past midnight possibly. I was going for a run. And I was I want to say I was more than a mile, maybe close to 2 miles away from where my house is. And, I was running with music on when I heard something. And this isn't where the weird part happens. What I heard was my dog. My dog had ended up following me from my house, and I didn't have a leash or anything. So I was worried, like, okay, he's going to run away and I'm not going to like find him for a few days. So I decided to start walking back home because I knew he'd follow me back home. And my dog and we got near this hill, or right at this hill rather, that's literally down the road from my house. Like it is right down the road from where my house is. And this hill, it's a road, a paved road that's in between these two heavily treed, heavily wooded areas. And we were walking, and I was walking, and what made me stop was I realized I didn't hear my dog walking because I can usually hear him like panting along the way. I stopped walking because he was just quiet. And it didn't freak me out at first, I looked back at him and I was like, "Hey, buddy, come on, let's go." And he was staring at the woods, like he was staring at the trees. Now this was at night; there weren't any lamps or anything, And I wasn't really that concerned at first because he'll do that. He'll just kind of stare out. I started to get concerned though when I realized he wasn't like getting closer. He wasn't really moving or anything. He's not the bravest dog, but if there's something that he is not familiar with, he is gonna like chase after it, try to, figure out what it is. Most dogs do that. So I kind of looked in the direction of where he was looking, and I couldn't really see anything because there's a lot of trees. It was, dark. I could almost see something, like see this kind of like this almost like a silhouette almost. And that's when I was like, okay, something's going on. My dog, he started to kind of whimper a little bit. And that's when I got really concerned because, if your dog starts like just whimpering in place and isn't able to make a full bark happen, something's like not right. So I turned my flashlight on my phone on just to see if I can kind of see anything. And the flashlight on my phone, not very bright, but it was bright enough to where I could see that it was reflecting off of something. So the first thing I think I thought was like, okay, this isn't like a living thing. This isn't like an animal or anything because whatever it is, it's just reflective. It wasn't like super shiny. It was kind of like a glossy kind of reflecting back kind of texture, whatever it was. And when I did that, my dog, he let out like this really aggressive bark. And that really let me know that this was a really bad situation to be in because like I said, he's not brave, but he is not aggressive. He's a border collie, not aggressive at all. Just usually he doesn't even make a lot of sound. So I was about to kind of start walking closer, and then I heard like a little bit of movement, like a little bit of trees, branches moving, leaves are kind of rustling. And that's when I kind of like, okay, there is something like alive, I guess, something that's capable of movement. Well, right as I was about to like kind of move closer, this car came down the hill. Now, going down this hill, it's 10 miles per hour. And this person, they had their brights on. So their brights were on. They were getting closer to that spot. And as the car was going down closer, the light was hitting that spot more. And not even a minute later, the light hit fully, and all I could see was just this tall, thin, just this black figure, hidden in the trees. And what scared me the most was there were no facial features, or if there were, I couldn't see them. It was just this reflective, smooth-bodied thing is all I can call it. I don't know what to call it. And as soon as I saw it, I kind of just froze. And my dog was just acting the same, still whimpering, still kind of letting out some pretty aggressive barks, trying to. He was being a little more aggressive than usual. So I instantly just kind of got down next to him right then. And the car, was still going by 10 miles per hour, not very fast, just kind of grazing by. And as soon as the car hit that spot, basically was neck and neck with this thing, the light went away a little bit. The car kept going by, and it eventually crossed all the way. And when there was complete darkness, I just ran. That was all I could do was I just ran. I forgot about my dog, kind of. I just started running. And one thing that kind of I usually forget to bring this up until the end of the story. One thing that I kind of noticed that I didn't really think much of until a few days later was there was this weird humming sound. And that might not have anything to do with it because there's a lot of cicadas in our area. It could have been something like that. But there was just a weird humming sound that entire time, you know. But, going back to right after the car passed, I started running. And I don't know if it was just I don't know if I was just too much in the moment or anything, but I feel like I heard aggressive movement in the trees. Like it was running out of the trees. I didn't look back at all, and even if I did, I don't think I would have seen anything. Like I said, this is a dark road. Most people would not probably want to run on it at night, but that's my favorite time to run is when it's dark and ominous, personally.
Jeez. That's a great recipe for
Yeah. So I ran home, and that was, like I said, right up the road, literally just right up the road from where my house is. And I, went in the front door. I was in panic mode. I was not in control. I was just freaking out. And, I basically flusteredly kind of told my parents what happened. My dog, he made it back home. My dog was cool, didn't get taken or anything. And my brother, he wanted to see the thing. So basically he got a big knife, and we kind of a few minutes later we went back. We couldn't see anything. There wasn't any kind of trace of anything. We kept hearing movement off in the distance in the trees. I don't know if that was the same thing. Because like I said, there is wildlife. There's a lot of wildlife around here. It's not an uncommon thing to see a lot of deer and armadillos and even foxes. We have a lot of foxes and coyotes around here, actually. But I know that this was definitely not a coyote. So, my brother, he was just kind of in this, I want to see this. He really wanted to try to see what it was. I've never seen it again, really. Although there have been times I'll be running and I'll just hear a sound, and I'll just kind of I'll freeze up, I'll hide behind a trash can or something just until it's safe, because really I don't know what this was. I mean, it was, but just what stood out to me was there were no facial features. It was just this silk, glossy kind of texture skin. And it's pretty tall. It had to have been tall in order for me to really see it where I saw it, because the trees, there's this particular area, there's this big bush section that goes pretty tall vines and everything. So in order for me to see the torso up, this thing had to have been tall. And that's really all there is to it. I mean, I've talked to other people about it who have had theories of oh, it was an alien, it was a ghost. And the thing is, there really aren't any stories like that around my area, at least none that I know of. And I haven't really gone around asking or anything, because personally, I'm not that worried about people thinking I'm crazy. Plenty of people around here know me well enough to where they know, okay, I'm not losing it. But as far as I know, no one else has ever seen anything like this around here.
So, so a couple things I wanted to ask you. And first of all, I mean, I can't believe you're going back out jogging in the same place. Now, are you still wearing headphones while you jog at night, or are you more aware, try to be more aware of
So
all
I
this around?
definitely, the thing is like where I run, like there's only like that little spot where I'm really in the woods pretty much. And then after that, there's just this pretty big neighborhood with street lamps and, you
Okay.
know, so I'm definitely not that out to like run. I mean, I guess I'm a little more vigilant, kind of. If I go the opposite direction, there's a way less houses, way less lamps and all that. You know, I mean, the thing is like, this really was something like, as far as I know, no one else has seen this. Like, I mean, if I heard more stories, then yeah, I probably would kind of stop. You know, I mean, as far as I know, no kids have gone missing and no portals to the upside down have opened, so nothing like crazy is going on. But I'm totally convinced that there is a thing out there, and I mean, when it comes to the discussion of the, paranormal and all that, I don't have an answer for any of that. Do I believe in Bigfoot and aliens and all that? I think there's some truth to a lot of stories that people have. I mean, I don't.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing is, look, I'm here sitting here listening to you tell your story. Now, it's like you said, you don't have a real answer, or even maybe it sounds like even a good guess at what it may have been. Okay, but it sounds I take you for at your word that you saw something. Now, I, what it is, we have to try to kind of maybe you know talk through it a little bit and just see you know if, like you said, if somebody else hears this and has seen something similar, maybe they'll have some more to add to the story, that clears something up. But I mean, I did want to. So you and your brother went back there. Did you
Yeah,
try? Did you try to go to the exact spot where you saw it? Like you said, it was like against a tree or near a tree. Did you try to go right there at that point in time?
we walked into the woods a little bit, or rather, he walked. I kind of stayed behind. He is kind of a he wasn't. I don't know if he wasn't fully convinced or if he just really thought whatever it was, he stood a chance against it. But we kind of went over there, and like I said, there weren't any like footprints or anything. There wasn't. I mean, granted, it was dark. I really didn't know what to look for, if and there was anything to look for. Um, Something else. I think I realized what you're talking about when you said my brother had another experience. I don't know if I talked to you about something else that happened. This happened a long time ago, and this might have nothing to do with it. I don't know. But back when I was actually in middle school, and this was probably like 6 or 7 years ago, there
No,
was.
is this the same? Is this story taking place in the same neighborhood?
Yes, it is.
Okay, okay, okay.
So from our pool, my brother and two friends, we were in our pool when I believe it was me who noticed a light in the sky. And what made this light different from other lights in the sky was that it was basically just teleporting between different points in the air. And I pointed it out to my brother, and he pointed it out to his two friends, and we just kind of stood there, kind of staring at it. It was really far away, but it was enough to kind of freak my brother out a little bit. And like I said, this was a long time ago. This might have nothing to do with it. I don't know. I don't really have a whole lot of other stories about seeing strange lights in the sky. Uh,
So you're saying the light was stationary and then would zip
yeah,
to one spot and stop?
it would not.
Z-
It had no motion. It would just like teleport, just like
really? Like, so it was
it-
like,
yeah.
would it disappear or would it just and
Ye-
reappear? Or is
That's
that
what
what
I.
you?
Yeah, it would just like blink out and then almost like instantly just appear somewhere else. Like it was like this kind of this red tinted light almost. It was kind of a red orangey kind of color, you know. And there was no movement at all. It was just like there and then from point A to point B, you know. So like I said, that might have nothing to do with this. I don't know. I'm not gonna try to be like, oh, I saw this because I don't know what it was. I have no idea. I mean, there.
So did you notice? So you go back to that humming noise that you said you kind of remember hearing. Do you remember like that humming noise that night while you guys were in the pool?
Oh, definitely not. No, I mean,
Okay.
like I said, that light was really darn far away in the sky. We really weren't that close to anywhere to really get a good look at it. I mean, the humming noise though, that's something that kind of comes back to me because there will be times I think I hear it. And like I said, I don't know. Like there's so many things in my area that could make that. There's like, you know, like we have like deer, and I know deer kind of will make that kind of like squealing, humming sound. I don't know, but like we have cicadas, we have all kinds of insects and things that could do that. The humming sound though, here's the only way I know how to describe it was it changed frequency whenever something new came into the picture. And by that I mean I faintly heard it. And then when my dog kind of panicked, it got a little louder. And then when I shined my light, it got even louder. And when the car passed by, I couldn't really hear it as well because of the car's engine, but I could still hear it. So in a way, it to me says that whatever this thing was, it was aware that I was there. And I don't know how it couldn't have been because I was coming down the hill. And here's the thing that really freaks me out is you got to understand, like there was a street between me and this thing. There we weren't like far apart. Think about like just your typical street in
Yeah,
between
about
two
20
neighborhoods.
feet about 20 feet wide probably. And then
Probably
right?
about I was close to this thing. And that's why I really ran was like I was like, "Oh my gosh, like this thing is literally right in front of me." It to me now like it's really fun kind of talking about it almost because it's like some people might not believe me, some people are going to think, "Oh, you just saw something strange." But the speculation is fun for me, you know?
Yeah. Well, yeah, because I mean, it didn't really. I mean, you don't feel like it was aggressive towards you, and except that you heard some movement in the woods afterwards, and that might have been the thing going. Oh my God! As far as you know, that thing might have been like, oh my God, this animal sees me. I'm going to stand straight as still as I can, and hopefully it'll just go away.
I
You know what
mean,
I'm
I
saying? It might
I
have
can
been as scared of you as you were of it.
I mean, here's something though that I guess I don't really consider a lot. I did not see hands, and I don't know if I really saw arms. I'm sure I mean, I saw the torso up. I didn't see it move, when the light hit it, you know, I saw a figure. I saw something there that resembled something close to a human being, something relatively humanoid. Now, it's just so strange to me. The more I reminisce about it, it is just so strange to me because I can kind of like almost think of like little things that, okay, maybe that meant something more, like the humming noise or, you know, like
Hmm.
no face. I mean, here's the way I can describe like the face. It was definitely a head, not a face. It was definitely a head. It was tall. It was long. You know, I
Well, when you guys went back out there and your brother was in there, did you kind of take note of how big that thing was compared to your brother standing about in the same spot?
I'm actually like slightly taller than my brother, but when I went into that area, these trees. Here's something. This is actually a really, really good point to bring up, and I didn't even think about this till you asked that. A lot of these trees are gone now because they have like little flags on them to be cut down, and those flags were 8 feet off the ground. This thing was at least a foot shorter than that, probably because like just from my perspective, looking at those trees with like these little like ribbons around them, uh, it looked like it had to have been like just underneath. where one of those ribbons would have been. And those ribbons, they were marked at 8 feet exact. That way, I mean, I don't really know why they were like that because the entire tree got cut down.
Yeah.
They've started like building in our area more. And sometimes I kind of think like, okay, maybe someone's gonna run into this thing, because if they're tearing some of these woods down to like develop more, maybe someone will find something, and if it was.
Well, think about this, okay? You saw it, and it's not like you went door to door and said,
Yeah, exactly.
hey, guess what I saw last night? Hey, I mean, there probably is more people that have run into it, but what do you say? How do you go about telling your neighbors without, like you said, they think you're crazy, you
Well,
know?
yeah, I know. I mean, that's the thing. Like, I'm not personally worried about that. In this area, I'm not like a celebrity, but I'm known by plenty of people that know I'm not insane. So that way
Hmm.
they for me like, hey, he's not crazy. Uh, I mean, the thing is, there are some people that I know if I go to, they might know something, because there's a lot of hunters. There's a lot of people who have cameras set up around this area. There is there is specifically someone that I've thought in the back of my mind. I'm not going to name them, who made jokes about seeing Bigfoot at one point with his dad. And now the more I think of it, I think, wait a minute, hold on, that might actually there might be something there. I mean, you know, maybe like there probably are people who have actually probably seen something. I mean, I haven't really like gone public with this. I don't really know how to do that. I don't know who to go to.
Hmm.
Mine who's like made the joke. I mean, here's something interesting that was like, I did tell this story to one person. A couple months ago, we had a Bigfoot festival in our town, and it wasn't like anything super big, but there was someone there who has written Bigfoot books, and I cannot remember his name off the top of my head. I have his business card somewhere.
Now, is it somebody? So you're in Florida, right?
Yes, I'm in the Floridian area.
Okay, so I mean, I know two people. I know two people in Florida: Stacy Brown or Mark Muncy. Those are the guys who, Stacy Brown is the skunk ape expert in Florida. He's all over the place doing. In fact, he will probably be listening to this episode because because he also listens to us, and Mark does too. And Mark has written a lot of books about strange things that have gone on and happened in Florida. Like it's fascinating the stories that he has. So, but yeah, I mean, I know Stacy is very reputable when it comes to that, and he's probably got some of the best Bigfoot slash skunk ape evidence that he got in Florida. I mean, it's an amazing thermal uh, like video of a Bigfoot stepping between trees. So
Oh,
yeah, I mean, there's those guys. I mean, there's some guys down there that know their stuff. I don't know who the card that you got from, but like like if I was going to send you to talk to somebody, it'd be one of those guys, and those guys would. I mean, especially if you know. If when you first told me this, I thought I was right there, like metallic looking, and um, I mean, I thought, man, is this did you just see an alien? Did you see an alien or like something from a UFO, like is in the neighborhood checking you out and stuff. But um, and even when you say like the humming, like I could see like maybe I'm saying this because I just binged the whole Mandalorian series last weekend because I finally signed up for Disney Plus. Shameless plug for Disney Plus in case you want to hook me up. But so maybe so I'm like picturing like is this droid standing there that has been sent like as a scout from a UFO or something, and it's trying to keep quiet, and that humming is its defense mechanism because animals do the same thing. Like they'll make noise as they feel threatened. Like your dog felt threatened, and his he first had a whimper, and then he started growling and barking, and
that's
as the perceived danger went up, the sounds he was making went up. And so we could think the same about whatever it is that was, because it sounds to me like whatever it was you saw did not really want you to see it, and was trying to, especially if it didn't move until after, you know. Usually we hear Bigfoot stuff about Bigfoot. They step out of the way, or they stand so still you don't even see them in the first place. You
That just
know.
I'm just gonna interrupt you for a second. That just kind of put an idea in my head. The thing is, when I run, I don't run with my dog. He's the only reason I saw that thing. He's the only reason I had any idea that there was something there. So
Mm-hmm.
that puts an idea in my head, like maybe I've actually run past this thing multiple times. I mean,
Well, the car that went by, did it even pause or stop or anything? Like it
no,
saw something?
oh my gosh, no, no. I'm okay. I'm gonna tell you the truth. Like I'm thinking about that, and I can feel my heart racing a little bit. That's kind of a very exciting, scary idea. Like, holy crap! Wait a minute. If my dog was not with me, I would not have even stopped. I would not have, you know, shined my light or anything. I would not have been made aware at all. And that really puts this idea in my head. What if like this is something that like I've actually missed the opportunity to see before because I didn't have my dog with me? And like you can probably hear in my voice a little bit. Like I'm actually kind of frightened thinking about that. I'm like, holy crap! What if like this thing is like actually actively out there?
Hanging out in the neighborhood. Just, I mean, and who knows? And like you said, so do you think, like, to even label it like as a Bigfoot / skunk ape, which is kind of what
I would
they
not
think.
do that because it didn't have hair on it. It didn't have any. It wasn't bulky either. It was thin. It was probably about as a little bulkier than I am, I guess, but not muscular. Just like the only way I think I can describe it is it was just a really big stick figure that had no features. You know, I mean, it granted.
So you saw a head but didn't see a face, is what you're.
Yeah, I didn't see facial features. I mean, one thing though is like here is one thing that kind of has gone through my head. One thing I looked up was reptilians. I don't know where to go with that. That is such an intense concept of science fiction. Like Bigfoot, that's an ape. That's an ape man. That could maybe, reptilians. That's a whole nother ballpark of X-Files. But one thing that stood out to me when I was reading through this, and I've read this so many times, is that sometimes there are reptilians who, I'm not saying I believe this. I'm just saying this is just something I'm throwing out there. Reptilians, they can kind of cover their facial features with the way they camouflage. And that's something I thought was like, holy crap, what if, could this have been something that was camouflaging itself? Was it like blending into like the darkness around it? Was it something that, you know, I don't know. I mean, the thing is, I'm going to tell you something. I don't really get so far into like, the paranormal stuff that I think, oh my gosh, like there's aliens watching us right now. I'm not a huge believer. I think there's a lot of truth in like certain stories, but I'm telling you right now, when I really get into this story, I am freaked out thinking about it. I'm not.
Well, sure. Well, sure. I mean, it's something that you saw, your dog saw. Okay, now listen, here's the thing is you might be able to tell yourself that there was nothing there if your dog didn't sit there and growl and bark. Okay? Because from that there's something. Now what it is, who knows? But if you're out there by yourself, you can kind of say, it's dark, my eyes are playing tricks on me. It's shadows or whatever.
And yeah, that's the thing. Like my dog,
yeah.
scared. He couldn't move. He was scared. I'm serious. Like I'm really. You can hear me pausing. You can hear me kind of shivering in my voice. Like when I really put that aspect of the story into perspective of holy crap, this might have been something that I'm run by. It genuinely kind of frightens me. I don't feel threatened. I just feel like holy, like if it hasn't attacked me yet.
Well, and that's the thing is, so how many times have you run by it? How many times has somebody else run by it? How many times, or was that the only time it was there? And if you didn't happen to have your dog, it would have got you as soon as the car went past. There's so many different scenarios of what if, or it's just boggles my mind of what, and that's why I mean, if there's people in the neighborhood that you think you could go talk to and just say, hey, have you guys ever noticed something? Especially hunters. If you got people that hunt, they pay so much attention. I mean, their eye for detail and for the moment that something is different when it comes to nature is so innate that they're the ones that see that stuff and notice it. And but a lot of times, like I said, how's anybody supposed to know that anybody else saw anything? I mean, there's not a community bulletin board that you're going to put it up on. Like, hey, did you see this thing? I saw, like, here's a picture of what I saw, because that's the thing is nobody wants to be that person. And you say, nobody thinks you're crazy, but you also haven't gone out and said, hey, I saw this big 7-foot metallic looking thing standing by a tree either, so you hope that people would still receive you the same way, I'm sure. But I definitely talk to some other people in the neighborhood, especially if there's people that run at night, and see if they've ever noticed anything different.
I mean, really, like the most people are really talking about it were like my former employees, like all the employees at the job I had, which I'm not gonna like share that detail yet or where that was yet, because I feel like that might lead people to me a little bit. I'll say it was a fast food chain. I talked to them a little bit about it, and no one really like responded with like doubt or skepticism. They kind of like took it as okay, they know like okay, if I say I saw something, I'm not making it up. I mean, you know,
well, and that's the best thing about that is the best thing about podcasts. I got to say, is that it has opened up the avenue for so many people to come forward and tell stories that you can't throw shade on everybody that tells a story, because people just aren't. I don't believe people are making all this stuff up. Okay. I do believe a lot of people see stuff and they don't know what it is they saw, and they're doing the best they can to explain it. I have no explanation. I have no explanation for what you saw. I truly believe you saw something that scared you and your dog, and you're trying to figure it out. But I can only tell you what is going through my head when I hear this story. And I mean, that's what I immediately go for, is something that is not probably an animal, or what I'm saying, or a cryptid animal that it just seems to me like it was something, the way you described it, that like on the other side of the woods might have been a spaceship sitting over there. And here's the thing, we know there's spaceships because the government has come out and said, hey, look, we have off-world crafts. Well, okay, just go out and say we have recovered UFOs. Okay, that's what that means. So at some point, they visited our planet, and why would they have stopped? Um, I don't know. I have no idea.
I mean, I
But
definitely don't know how to
but I would keep jogging with my dog. I'd still take my dog, even as reluctant as the dog might be. I'd be like, hey, buddy, we're going.
I think the dog has forgotten about it. Honestly, that was so long ago. I mean, I've walked with that dog plenty. Like in the evening, he hasn't had a problem. You know, there's, there are in the area there are certain spots that I feel like okay, if I were to go there, I might just see this thing because there are some pretty hidden areas near where I live. And in a way, I'm almost tempted. I'm tempted to like, start up the new monster quest basically, and just go out there because the thing is like even there's only one thing that I have found through like the paranormal community that kind of matches it, and that's the rake. And if it's the rake, then
Oh, dear
it's
God.
it's time to leave. It is time to leave because that is truly the scariest entity I can think of on land, at least. I mean, you know,
I
it
hope the rake is totally made up. That's what I will say. I hope
if
that is something that is totally made up, because if that is really out there, then yes, I agree 100% with you.
I mean, I'm gonna tell you the truth. Like, I've, like I said, since I was a kid, I've always loved like monsters and just stuff that doesn't make sense. My all time favorite is the Mothman, and I would never want to meet him if assuming something like that existed. But it sticks with me. I do think about it every time I run. I mean, I really, in a way, I'm kind of hoping, okay, maybe if I really share this, maybe like someone either will know something or someone will come out and be like, hey, you can come forward and be a little more public and a little less worried about talking about it. You know, like it'd be amazing if like, I don't know, maybe like something like Destination Truth just hit me up and was like, hey, you can totally talk to us about it because we're gonna go do an expedition and look for this thing. That'd be awesome. What's gonna happen?
Well, listen, you never know. Josh Gates might be listening.
If Josh Gates is listening and if he knocks on my front door, then better take it with him. I'll find a thing with him.
Listen, I've been trying to get him on the show for like 2 years now, and I can't, and he's just too busy. So if I do get him, I'm saying, look, there's a dude I need you to go down and pay a visit to.
I will fit you and kiss you if you make that happen. I will.
Hey, believe me, you don't have to do. You don't have to do. But I mean, hey, look, I would. I mean, I will. I'll put you in touch with, Mark Muncy and Stacy Brown, and you can reach out to them and ask them if they, because those are the guys in Florida that I know that they get these stories. They're the ones that get, especially Mark Muncy, when it's not more specific to like a cryptid. He's the one that gets all these stories. People call him, email him, he gets them all, and then he sifts through them. And if there's somebody then he thinks is more qualified, he passes it on to them. But I mean, he gets stuff every day. I've told he's a good friend, and there's nobody more knowledgeable than him. And if you got a hold of him and said, well, this is where I live, this is where I'm at, he might know 5 stories from where you're at that might corroborate exactly what you're saying, because somebody in your neighborhood might have already got a hold of him and told him that they've seen the same thing. So, I mean, yeah, I mean, if that's something when we get done here, I will definitely give you their information if you want to reach out to them, because
you can just DM it to me on my account. Definitely, I'm definitely interested in that. There's oh yeah, I'm just saying there's another page I kind of want to like reach out to. I don't know if you've ever heard of Beastly Pumpkin. That's an account wait, have you?
No. What is that?
Oh, it's another like cryptid paranormal investigation account on Instagram, and I was kind of tempted to like reach out to him because he does more like the like supernatural kind of stuff, I think, and he, I don't know, he might know something. He might have some kind of story. I mean, the thing is, like, I like to think that this is something beyond our understanding. I mean, I would kind of be a little disappointed if someone was like, "Hey, it was just me in a costume. You got pranked,"
Yeah.
I like the idea. Holy crap! Like, I did see something that we don't know about, But at the same time, I know that personal bias is going to be why I might not be open to like, hey, it might have actually been someone in a costume. I need to stay open-minded about this. I know I do, even though I do kind of hope, okay, this really could have been something that is beyond science. It's who knows.
I know what you're saying. I mean, there's a lot of there's so many things unanswered. And yes, you got to keep an open mind, because sometimes the answers might not always be as exotic as what we want them to be. But you know what? Ultimately, I think we'd all feel better if we had answers, no matter what they are, as long as it's the truth. We don't want any nonsense of, oh, it's swamp gas, or you saw Venus in the sky, or whatever. You want the truth. And I think the people that know some of these answers underestimate the ability of mankind to take the truth, and be able to handle it. That's why for 70 years the government hid the fact that there were UFOs, because they thought we wouldn't be able to handle it. We'd run around with our hair on fire. And there's a lot of people in the Bigfoot community who believe the same thing, that the government knows all about Bigfoot, where they're at. They've got them. They've been hiding them from us, and that we just wouldn't be able to take it if we knew the truth. Well, that's silly, because there's so many people trying to find the truth. Why would they think we wouldn't be able to handle the truth? So, I'm hoping that you are able to at least find some more information on what it is that you saw, and that it's not because you run into it again, or it grabs you and yanks you off the road in the middle of the night, because then we probably won't get a follow-up on
I'm,
it.
I could take it. I'm pretty sure I could handle a one-on-one with that thing. I mean, I I'm so tempted some nights to just go out there and just go for it, just like run aimlessly in the woods and see what I run into, because I could, it's like that. There's like this little tick in the back of my head, like I want to meet this thing. I want to know, like, okay, not for my own validation for other people, but my validation for myself. Like, okay, like I saw this thing. This is legit.
Yep.
I mean,
Totally understand that. I totally understand it. And you're not alone. Hey, look, you're not alone. You're definitely not alone. There's
I mean,
thousands of people that want to
here's
do that.
here's something that I don't know. The more these kind of details I come up, the more it's going to sound like I really do get more into this stuff than I mean to. There weren't footprints. There weren't anything there. What if this thing wasn't tall? What if it was like some really short thing that was just like levitating?
Oh,
That's
geez. Now you've just taken it to a whole nother level. But
I just
but
thought
you're
it. I just thought of that. Like, wait a minute, hold on,
yeah.
because there wasn't any, from what I could see, any footprints in the mud or anything. I mean, it was leafy mud terrain. Usually, you probably see footprints. I mean,
And the
we could.
humming was the mechanism that was allowing it to levitate.
It was just there. The more I think about it, and the more I talk about it, the more these ideas pop in my head. Like, what if there was, like, you know, I mean, it's so much fun to talk about it, honestly, because I know some of my friends are gonna be like, "Oh, he's making this up," I mean, I I'm not, and I don't care if they believe it or not. I mean, personally, it doesn't really change anything. I mean, I haven't dedicated my life to finding out what this is. It doesn't really alter my life in any way, and you know, it's just it's interesting to consider, because really, I think there's so many people when it comes to like Bigfoot, when it comes to Loch Ness monster and all that. There's so many bull crap people out there. You know, it's not common for people to come forward, in my opinion, and say like, "Hey, I saw something, but this isn't something I can find a description about anywhere else." I mean, and that's what really I think sets my story apart from other people. That for the most part, I can't find anywhere else. I mean, there was some people who I was talking to who thought it was a shadow people. And if that's what
Yeah.
that is, then I don't leave this town, because that's another thing that's horrifying to me. It's
Mm-hmm.
the elements of this that make it feel like, okay, this might not have been like a typical physical entity. This could have had some kind of supernatural thing too. And I do have a religious faith in my life. I do sometimes think, okay, there are forces that are so far beyond science and the universe that we're just never gonna comprehend it no matter what. Do I think this has something to do with it? I don't know. I mean, for all I know, the mystery machine could pop up in my house any day now, and Scooby and the gang's gonna be out there looking for this thing. I mean, this is something that I do think when I say I don't know and I can admit that, I think that does kind of add a level of validation to what I saw that, okay, I can't make sense of it, rather than, oh, I definitely saw a Bigfoot. I don't have a name for this thing. I don't have a category for this thing. I mean, you could play 20 questions with me and you would never have a name for it unless, this really is something other people saw. I mean,
No, I know I know exactly what you're saying. I mean, sometimes it is. I understand it can be difficult when somebody says, "I definitely." When we're talking about something that's relatively unknown and there's not a lot of solid evidence, and somebody declares, "This is exactly what I saw and this is what happened." I understand it's hard for some people to, well, how do you know? You know, and it does for you to say, I have no idea what it was I saw. That I can understand. I understand what you're saying. Yeah, you feel like um, because you're not saying it was this or this, it adds some validity to your claim. And I'm just, from where I sit, I don't question anybody's validity, but I understand what, um, how it looks to some people for sure. And yeah, I do think it's probably even more unnerving to not have any idea, like to be in their shoes and just be, really have no idea what you saw, not even any place to start, you know. And I think you'd be happy. I think you'd probably be happy if you could even find a place to really start trying to figure out, what it was you saw. So,
I mean, really, that's really all I really have to say about it. I mean, I've pretty much kind of gone through and through with it. I mean, if you have any other questions, go ahead and shoot them at me.
no, hey, look, I think I think you've kind of covered everything. I mean, I think that from the way you've described what it was you saw, I'm right there with you. I can't put a label on it or even begin to. I think it's something that I think it's in my book. If I had to guess, it almost seems otherworldly to me. Is
Oh
what I
yeah,
think. That's what I think.
that's all I can say is that it just I
Now
really
before now before we let you go, okay? This is an amazing story, and I do want to urge anybody out there who has who's listened to the show. If you've witnessed anything like this or experienced anything like this, get a hold of me because, like I said, Daniel really wants to kind of, start figuring something out. I think, but I want you to share though. When I got your message, I went, contacted me on Instagram. I went to your page. This is a super cool page. I want you to tell everybody like what
oh
it is about your Instagram page so they can go check you out on Instagram.
okay, yeah. So it's called Comicology. It's a mix between the words comic and prodigy. It's just a comic book movie news account pretty much. It's it's doing well. I've surpassed 2,000 followers, which in my opinion is okay. So, definitely check that out if anybody's interested in that kind of stuff. I do collaborations and all that kind of stuff with people sometimes. Um, I've been working on it for probably ever since before Christmas, so I've grown it in only about 4 months, which is surprising to me. But with Instagram's recently kind of screwed up algorithms, it's been a little harder to reach people. But really, it's just comics, superheroes, movies, nerd stuff, stuff like that, basically.
Hey, I look. I don't know if I want to label myself a nerd. I think it's cool though. I think it's cool. I'm going to dig into it a little bit more and check some more of the stuff out. It looks pretty cool. I'd urge all of our listeners, if you're into that, comics and movies and television, um, go check it out. I see a lot of superhero stuff. I see some comic stuff. I mean, it just, I think there's something for everybody in there that likes this sort of thing. So yeah, go support Daniel's page. Go check out his stuff and give him a follow. I'm sure you'll appreciate it, right?
Oh, absolutely. Totally.
Well, Daniel, I'm so glad you reached out to us, and once we get off here, I'll shoot you Mark Muncie's number, and you can let him know that you may be shooting him a text, and I'll tell you what, if you guys figure anything out, I want to get the scoop from both of you and have you guys back on, and let's see what you found out.
Totally.
All right. Well, hey, thank you, Daniel, for reaching out. Thank you for spending some time and telling your story, and I hope we find some answers for you.
Thanks for the opportunity. Totally. I mean, this is, like I said, this is kind of fun for me to talk about. It's a little kind of, the more I dig into it, the freakier it kind of gets to me,
Well, like I said, be careful out there, and hopefully this is just the beginning of discovery.
Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of the From the Shadows podcast. Until next time, never shy away from the darkness or what may be lurking in the shadows. We are out.
If you send money to your loved ones internationally, do it with the Western Union app. Once you've downloaded it, you can send money around the world or back home in just a few taps, so family and friends can pick up cash fast. Download the Western Union app and send money today. Western Union. Fast, easy, reliable. Offered by Western Union Financial Services, Inc., NMLS 906983, or Western Union International Services, LLC, NMLS 906985. Terms apply.
Your work technology should help your organization run better. Monday.com is an intuitive platform designed to help teams of all sizes work better together and maximize results. With Monday.com, you can easily customize your workflows to fit your team's exact needs and create automated updates to keep everyone up to speed in real time. Experience the power of a single platform that replaces your costly tech toolbox and the headache that comes with it. To start your 14-day free trial, go to Monday.com.